Hey everybody, Jazzy here, and today I am excited to introduce Wurt, the newest character addition to Don't Starve Together. In light of all the lore that got added during the Gorge event last year, it's nice to see a Merm finally introduced as a playable character. But did she have to be so adorable? I mean, look, she's sitting under a tree, reading Wicker's books, and munching on Halloween candy. Do I care that the animated short contains zero storyline? Let me get back to you on that after I give Clay all my money. Okay, let's get started with Little Miss Wurt. She starts off with 150 health, 200 hunger, and 150 sanity. She is a vegetarian and unable to eat meat foods. This includes eggs and fish. She would be a vegan if she were also averse to dairy, but to my delight, she still enjoys her goat milk and ice cream. So the no-meat diet certainly cancels out a vast majority of foods available in the game. However, she restores an additional 33% hunger from eating veggies, fruits, butterfly wings, and any non-meat crockpot foods. This means that a carrot, which normally restores 12.5 hunger, will restore 16.6 to Wurt. So with 4.5 carrots, cooked berries, cooked cactus flesh, or stone fruit per day, you can basically stave off hunger completely. In case that's not enough, durians restore 40 hunger with no penalties. Please don't farm durians though. You have so many crockpot recipes available that Wurt can benefit from without the need to feed a bird for specialized seeds. Fancy spiral tubers, pumpkin cookies, stuffed eggplant all restore 50 hunger. Even ratatouille and fistful of jam give efficient hunger considering how cheap their ingredients are. Dragon pie will give Wurt 40 health and 100 hunger. 100 hunger. Please don't farm durians. Wurt is at home in the swamp and receives a speed boost while walking on marsh turf that seems equivalent to the 20% gain from walking on cobblestones. Unfortunately, this does not stack with roads that snake through the swamp, but with a walking cane you're going to be flying around here. She can also spot the location of hidden tentacles indicated by white cloudy rings on the ground, making the swamp a much safer place to be. She also has the unique ability of crafting her own marsh turf from a very cheap and basic recipe. Over time, it would not be unusual to see the marsh slowly expand into other areas of the map. Merms are neutral to Wurt and can be made into an ally by befriending with fish. They will chop trees and fight mobs, much like pigs do, but they can also mine rocks and petrified trees, which is very nice. They hit a little less hard than pigs, but make up for that with twice the HP. The big difference is these guys don't start freaking out at dusk looking for their nightlight, so you can continue to work all through the evening, which will make them a much more efficient option for harvesting. She can also craft a clever disguise to give to other players, which will allow them to traverse the swamp without angering the Merms. On the flip side, pigs hate Wurt, and Wurt hates pigs. They will attack her on sight, although you can give them a clever disguise, and after they lose aggro on you, the shades will conveniently mask your features to them and they will just leave you alone. They still can't be befriended, but fighting them at this point is like shooting fish in a barrel. Now for the big bummer, you cannot trade with Pig King for gold. Although based on some comments inside the code, this aspect seems likely to change, and to drop a less than subtle hint, I'd imagine if players put up enough of a stink about it, they'd probably change it. Still, if this remains in the game, then any Wurt playing solo in a world will eventually run out of gold on the surface and need to resort to gathering in the caves. Wurt likes to keep a pet fish in her inventory and will receive a very nominal sanity boost from it. And when I say nominal, I mean not even enough to cancel the sanity drain of Dusk and Night. This does not stack with multiple fish, so I think the benefit of an inventory slot is probably greater than this perk. I wouldn't go so far to say the Merm enjoys being soaking wet, but she is certainly at less of a disadvantage, as her strong grip will keep slippery tools and weapons from flying out of her webbed hands while using. On a boat, Wurt can walk the plank at any time with no penalty besides 50 wetness. If you were feeling lazy while sailing, you could easily jump ship to teleport yourself to the closest shoreline. She can also read Wicker's books, just like in her animated short. She hates gardening and lightning, so stay away from the horticulture and End is Nigh books. Conversely, she is an avid fan of useless aviary trivia and hentai poetry, so reading Birds of the World or On Tentacles will restore 50 sanity. Give a Wicker 2 papyrus in a tentacle spot, and she will return to you 250 sanity worth of reading material that can be used on demand. Sleepy Time Stories is not a bad deal either, with 5 uses and 33 sanity per read. But the centerpiece of this character's potential lies in her unique ability to craft a few Merm structures, which can only be placed on marsh turf. The Crafts Merm house will spawn a single Merm who comes outside and stays outside. If killed, they will respawn after 2 days, which is quicker than pigs, but slower than bunnymen. Merm Flortifications will spawn 1 loyal Merm guard, which has 660 health and does 50 damage. Merm guards can be befriended with fish and become followers just like regular Merms. They will not emerge, however, until there is a Merm King to protect, and making a king is no simple feat. First, you must build the DIY royalty kit, into which you must place ingredients for assembly, similar to the celestial portal. It's always the same materials: fish, kelp, pig butts, and beefalo mullets. Once built, it will transform into the Royal Tapestry, and the throne will be on a first-come, first-served basis. Once a nearby Merm is perched on the tapestry, they must be fed something around 50 hunger worth of non-meat foods, such as 11 seeds, at which point they go King Ripped Pickle all over your fancy rug. At this point, Wurt receives a massive buff to all her max stats, getting 200 hunger, 200 sanity, and 250 health. What's even nicer is her stats get maxed when the king is born. Merms also get a buff while the king lives. Regular Merms, for instance, will get 560 health and do 40 damage. Interestingly, the max loyalty time of Merms decreases when the king lives. Where normally you can befriend them for up to 3 days, with the presence of a king, they can only be allies for a max of 2 days, and they require more food to stay loyal. Probably an issue of divided loyalties? I can understand. Sort of. Now, the Merm King himself has 1,000 health and 200 hunger. He loses 50 hunger per day and will starve in 4 days. So just be sure to keep him fed, and his slimy, bulging biceps will continue to guide your way in the world. The Merm King's reach only follows you across the map in which he exists, so if you want his buffs in the caves, you will have to create a King of the Underworld as well. A few final thoughts on Miss Swampy Sunshine. I think her hunger buff makes her an excellent candidate for rushing the ruins. For me, it seems like the thing that always marks the end to a trip to the ruins is when the food runs out, which is why Worley is such a pain to bring down. But Wurt, on the other hand, is not going to have an immediate problem with hunger, considering the abundance of lichen, blue caps, cave bananas, and carrots in biomes very close to the ruins. That said, I was a little disappointed to hear about the fruit and veggie hunger buff. For years, advanced players have self-imposed dietary restrictions into their gameplay to add challenge to the game. So when we heard about a vegetarian character, my ears perked up at the idea of a real winter challenge. Unfortunately, she hasn't really shaped up to be much of a challenge character. 3 to 4 bunnymen harvested daily will get you through winter quite easily. Not to mention cactus, lichen, and stone fruit bushes grow even in the dead of winter. The wetness perk could have been hashed out better. The fact that she still loses sanity and can eventually freeze from being wet kind of runs contrary to the notion that she's amphibious. The freezing sorta makes sense, but maybe she could lose less sanity when her inventory items start getting wet. That might have made more sense to me. All criticisms aside though, I'd be lying if I didn't admit my personal excitement for this addition to the game. While her perks do not come close to influencing gameplay in the same way as Worley's food buffs, Wartox's souls, or Wormwood's crops do, her potential for a purely fun play experience is definitely there. I like her. I think she's a well-designed character with some awesome mechanics that make the swamp a really viable base location for the first time in DST, and her skins are some of the most amazing drops I have seen from a character thus far. That is all I have to report on DST's newest character edition. Please let me know in the comments if I missed anything or if future updates change any of the information contained here. Thanks, and see you next time.